Hey guys, this is Flashbacks, a Flash Rewatch podcast, and this is the inaugural first episode of it. I am Alex,
And I'm Grant.
and we're here today to review the pilot. I remember, I guess we'll just do a build. This one's going to be a little weird, guys. This is like we're still figuring it out, but I guess we'll go into like how we felt at the time. I actually re-listened to an old review I did that I'll kind of factor into this as we keep going. But I remember the build up for this. Like I remember watching Arrow. I think the first season, from my memory, the first season of Arrow, it was popular, but it wasn't as big as like the second season. Do you remember if there was like a lot of hype around Arrow at the time or
Um, I feel like they're kind of not really, not a ton that I can like recall. Um, and for me, what kind of got me more hype was seeing the Barry Allen appearances.
yeah? Because definitely like that was one of the things like when this came out, and I forgot how long ago it was, but the episodes he was on, and we'll get into it in a minute, but the I think it's like 2013, so this was like early on, like it's still like the Marvel universe was going, but DC didn't really have much of anything at that point. I mean, I think maybe Man of Steel was about to come out, but that was about it. So like this was a big deal. Like crossovers were still like this big huge thing back then that you would get really excited for. Now I feel like it's more commonplace. Like, you have to have a little bit more than that to get people excited to go see things. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I really I remember the build up. I was surprised because just going into his first appearance, which is the scientist, and then he was on, actually have to check. I think it's Three Ghosts is the other one. But I was kind of surprised when they introduced him. I have like an article here talking about it real quick. Um Give me one second, guys. So basically this is the also the build up for the show. So I guess I'll wait for a while. Actually, never mind. The network will look to co-creators, executive producers. There was like a big television critics association thing with the president at the time, Mark Pedowitz, to announce the Flash. They were going to launch that, but before that, I think I told you before, like off air, that they were just trying it out, and they even talked about it in here, where they were saying that they were just going to make a backdoor pilots. Like we plan to introduce a reoccurring character, Barry Allen, who is the Flash. He told reporters, and like it was just kind of one of those things where they were just kind of testing the waters a little bit, and then seeing how it went. If people didn't end up liking Grant Gustin as the Flash, then I think that he would just stay on the show as Barry Allen, which I think would be lame. I don't know about you. Like, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, it would have been pretty underwhelming to have like that big name drop and then like that be the end of it.
Yeah,
Um, and then not see anything happen with the Flash. Especially since like I feel like the Flash is a little bit more popular of a DC hero than Green Arrow.
right.
Um, so it would have felt really weird for him to be like dropped, Barry Allen to be dropped into Green Arrow and then not have them do anything with the Flash. It would have felt weird.
Right. And like like it was rewatching it. I remember just we're not gonna go too much in. It's kind of like a build up to it, but like we get introduced to Barry Allen. Um like he gets off the bus in the I'm trying to keep the name straight, in the scientist episode. And
Mhm.
he's always late, which is like a reoccurring thing with Barry Allen. Even after he gets like super speed in the comics, he's still always late to things, which is kind of funny. But he shows up. I don't know if you noticed this. Whenever he shows up, there's like that to that crime scene. Grant Gustin's doing like a weird thing with his voice. Like his voice sounds different. Like I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
I didn't I didn't catch it exactly.
Yeah. Maybe he's just projecting or
Maybe I need to
something.
yeah, I might need to rewatch it again.
Yeah. But yeah, like it's just, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was saying I might just need to rewatch it again and listen for that and
Yeah.
pay closer attention.
Yeah, I was talking to my wife about it, and she was saying basically it's like, well, Grant Gustin kind of talks kind of funny anyway sometimes. I was like, oh, okay, because she knows him from like his role in Glee. Apparently he played like a bully in there. But yeah.
I see. I knew that he was on Glee, but I didn't know much about the character that he played on Glee because I've never really watched that show.
I think his name was Sebastian. Anything I know from Glee is my wife telling me about it, but she was like, "Yeah, like he played like it's like a gay bully apparently named Sebastian." I think she showed me a clip one time, and he's good at playing villains. Like we'll get into it later when we cover like future
Hmm.
seasons, but like I think me and you both kind of I tried to rock with the later seasons. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but he like they had a backdoor pilot. Berlanti and Kreisberg we're gonna serve as showrunners for it. And also, apparently, I was reading further into this article. This article comes from, I believe it comes from Entertainment Weekly, or no, Hollywood Reporter. My bad. But they were saying that, and I know this because I listened to another podcast called Superhero Stuff You Should Know, where the creators and writers of the Arrow and Flash were gonna make, or they did write a Flash movie that has a lot of what's in this season. So they didn't end up being able to make that movie, but whatever they had left, they basically just folded over into the season. It was supposed to tie in with Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern, actually.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but yeah, man. It was just one of those things. Going back and just seeing how different Grant Gustin plays Barry, and like I forgot about the little romance between him and Felicity. Like they hit it off. Oliver does not a huge fan of that. And then I guess we'll just skip ahead. Oliver gets injected with the I think it's the Mirakuru, and he like needs Barry's help basically, and so like his identity gets revealed, and just to fast track through this, we get the whole origin scene, which gets repeated with we see the chemicals in his lab kind of like levitating out of there, and then the lightning strike, and with the little I always love this detail when the lightning after the lightning hit him, you see like the little lightning go through like his temple and everything. I thought that was like a cool detail.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, man. Trying to see if there's anything else in here that it's like relevant before we just jump into the episode. Don't really see much of anything. All right. So, this is like this doesn't really relate to this, but apparently they were developing, and I don't even remember hearing about this. They were developing like a Wonder Woman prequel show at the time called Amazon that they didn't
Oh
end up
really?
doing. Yeah, which is bizarre. Like I don't even know what that would be. Like it doesn't have
Yeah,
any
I could see
details.
that ending up being pretty rough with CW too.
Yeah, especially at the time, man. Like have you seen just off topic, have you seen like Superman and Lois?
No, I actually haven't watched that.
But
Um,
oh, go ahead.
I heard that I heard that that one's actually pretty okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's good. The effects, I was more talk like in regards to the effects, the stories are great, like characters are great, but the effects are like movie level. And like obviously even back with this show, we didn't have like that. It was like it looked better than Smallville, but that was, it's like it was impressive for the time, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. It's crazy to think that this show was all the way back in 2014. Like thinking back, I'm like, that show hasn't been on that long, but it just ended like it's on its like ninth season. Just
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. And yeah, I guess too that it made it this far with now like all the stuff being moved over to HBO and everything.
Yeah. I'm surprised it was still going on with the movie in development. I know that Apparently back then, speaking of the movie, they were gonna Berlanti was also developing a Flash movie for Warner Brothers, which obviously didn't go anywhere. Um, like it was supposed to release in 2016. I guess that's that same movie that we're finally getting um, like next week, basically.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man, to think about that, like just off topic, like, but in 2016 they were talking about making that Flash movie with Ezra Miller, and then finally now they're releasing it like that. It's wild.
Yeah, that's been like yeah, it's been rumored about for so long. It's nuts that it's taken this long, but um I'm excited. I think it looks really really cool.
Yeah, man. He was actually on I know you stopped watching after season 3, but we're going to try to refrain from spoilers, but it is a rewatch podcast. They actually had Ezra Miller and Grant Gustin like crossover, like he was on the Crisis of Infinite Earths, like the TV event.
Oh.
Yeah, which was
Huh.
pretty wild.
I wonder if cuz Ezra Miller kind of got like soft canceled like a couple different
Yeah.
times. That might have to do with the delay of that movie, but
I have my own opinions about that, which I'll definitely get into when I get into that movie. I'm actually seeing it tomorrow, so I'm really looking forward to it. But I got a lot of thoughts on that. I've already kind of spoke about it before, but we'll kind of save that for another episode.
yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there.
Seriously. But okay, we're just gonna go ahead and go into the Runberry rundown right now. That's kind of the pun I made for like when we go through the synopsis. Anyway, um, I'll just start off the pilot. Came out. It was written by Berlanti, Kreisberg, and Jeff Johns, and directed by David Nutter, who actually also directed the first episode of Arrow. He's like one of those big time directors that's directed like a lot of. I think he's directed like some of the better episodes of Game of Thrones too. Like he's a big time director. But yeah, let's go ahead and go into it. And then like throughout here we'll just kind of like I can talk about the summary, and like throughout, like if you have any comments or anything, like we'll pause and talk about it for a minute kind of thing, or
Cool.
any if I have anything to say. But so just starting out, like I instantly got nostalgia watching it. I guess I'll go into my fandom of this too. Like at that time, I was really into the Flash, like obviously, like I still am. Like I have this this tattoo right here, and I have this really bad one that I need to touch up, but I don't even know if you guys can really see that. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah, it's hard to see through the
yeah. But it's okay. It's all faded anyway. But so it was a really big deal. I remember being a huge fan of that first episode, it really grabbing me, and it was just one of those things like before Daredevil and all these other shows, like the Flash show is kind of like, and Arrow to an extent, were kind of like appointment television, I feel like. But yeah. Okay, we'll just go ahead and go into it. Opens up, we see like the clouds, and then Barry's like, I want you to do something for me. Believe in the impossible. It's like you see me right there, right there, like he's running around kind of thing. And this, it's kind of interesting because I forgot what Happy Barry is like, because I've been watching the later seasons and he just seems kind of tired. Like he seems like it might be Grant Gustin though too. Like maybe he's kind of worn out. I don't know.
yeah, I might just be overplaying the character at that point.
Yeah, because I mean, like 9 seasons of a show, it's like 9 years of your life. He's got like, I think he's got like 2 kids too. So, he's got to be
Oh
like
yeah.
worn out. Yeah. But I remember seeing that first episode. There was like a build up to it. I guess I have some pictures that I want to share. But like while I'm doing that, we get like a flashback of Barry when he's younger. He was like getting beaten up by bullies because he was defending like another kid. So it's kind of nice. We see that he was kind of a hero before he got his powers, which is really cool. And I'm just pulling up the image real quick. so I can just show it. There was definitely like a lot of people at the time were wondering what Barry's costume would look like, and we'll definitely get more into it. I'll get your opinions on it, but this episode's kind of all over the place, guys. But he goes up to his mom and explains it, and his dad, there's like a running thing where he calls him Slugger and everything, and he asks him if he won the fight. We get kind of a payoff to that at the end of the episode, but it goes from that to like his mom getting killed. Like he wakes up and like you see like this blur. That CG didn't really hold up then, and it definitely doesn't hold up now.
Oh yeah, it's a little rough to go back on for sure.
Yeah, because I remember seeing that, and like I think back then I was like cutting it some slack because I was like, this is really good, so I'm willing to overlook this. But now I'm like, man, it's hard to look at this now. But we see that we see because I remember earlier in the Arrow episode, like he actually detailed what happened. Like his mom was getting killed by like something like a blur basically, and he was sped away like 20 miles away from his house, which we find out later is like his future self did that. But so that happens. We get the whole origin. His dad goes to jail, life in prison, and then we get modern day where Barry's running late, kind of like what I mentioned earlier, and like he shows up, and this is a note I had back then, and I know before I forget, I know me, you, and Joe actually. It was such a big deal to us, or maybe just to me. We had like a watch party back then at my
Oh
dad's.
yeah, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. That was definitely one of those things where I think I have the picture. If I still have that picture, I'll post it at the end of this episode. But that was really cool. And then we get like modern day. There's kind of like sometimes in pilots, I don't know if you've noticed this, like they'll try out like different effects and things. Like in this one, it's Barry shows up, he's late, gives Joe whatever, like he's getting crap for being late again. Like Joe saves him by being like, "Did you get that thing I asked you for?" And he shows up, looks at like the tire tracks, takes this guy's pen, and I'll get to the effects thing I mentioned earlier in a minute, but like he kind of uses the pen to get up like fecal matter and stuff. But when he's looking at the tracks, like it does like that Sherlock thing. I don't know if you've ever seen like the BBC like Sherlock series,
I have not.
but it does like I don't know if you noticed this. They don't do this in the later episodes, but it does like the little graphic thing where it showed like the above it like the tire and like have like little numbers and stuff like above it as he's like examining the crime scene.
I didn't even I totally overlooked that.
It's all right. But yeah, so there's a really stilted actor in it, and I went back and listened to the old review. Um and like this guy, it's maybe his accent. Me and Amanda were watching it last night, and the guy's like, "That was my father's pen," or something like it's just very stilted. It's Joe's partner. And it like the way he talks is really bizarre. It's almost like Christopher Walken like. It's like really, really weird.
Oh yeah, yeah, he does sound pretty funny.
Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, I remember going from that we meet Iris, who I don't know if you noticed this, like both Arrow and the Flash, to the extent they always have like these like kind of cringy jokes in them. Like they're like modern day like pop culture references. Like that's what they usually are. In this one, it's like he's like talking about like this is like the sum of like knowledge, and then like Iris like, does that include like twerking or something? I'm like, what the fuck? Like they
yeah, it's yeah. Uh, it's funny how they kind of throw shit in like that.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I think in Arrow it was like I think they mentioned the Kardashians or Twilight or something. I'm like they were just references. It's not like there was even like a joke in there. It's kind of like what people accuse Family Guy of doing sometimes.
yeah, it's a really funny like it's a really it's like you're really
The
dating the
show.
show and like you're just like giving it something to make it hold up less.
Yeah, seriously. Because I remember going back and they were talking about like the Kardashians and everything, which they're still like a thing, but like not as much as they probably were back then.
Right, yeah. And I mean, well, I guess twerking is still a thing too, but but yeah, it's just it's not the best move in terms of like dialogue.
Yeah, definitely. And then we find out that Barry wants to go to the particle accelerator, like the big showing and everything, but he can't because he's working. Joe shows up and it's established that like that's like his like daughter basically. And it sets up one of the grosser part. What's your take on the whole Iris and Barry thing with them like basically his almost sister? Like it's kind of gross, right?
Yeah, it's weird. And that was like I was like as I was rewatching the pilot today, like that was something that was on my mind. I was like, are we going to talk about like how they have this weird like sibling dynamic and all while he's like fawning over her?
Yeah.
Um and like she even acknowledges that because she's like at one point talking to him about like relationship advice and she's like, like I know we grew up together and I'm like a sister, but even though I'm not technically your sister, you can talk to me about this kind of stuff and
Yeah.
whatever. And it's like, oh, this is so weird.
It'd be it'd be better if they were just like friends, and I feel like I prefer them. I think Barry, like as we'll go on through the show, I feel like Barry has better chemistry with literally any other love interest they set him up with other than Iris.
Yeah, yeah, like obviously they had his him hitting it off with Felicity
Yeah, that
and
was good.
when he appears on Arrow and it's like, oh yeah, like that was like a good screen chemistry and they kind of just like have that fizzle out pretty quickly.
Yeah, especially later on, which we'll get to that. I'm not looking forward as much to later on, but I'm just gonna enjoy while I'm still in season one, still in the good, like the highlight stuff. I still like the later stuff, but it kind of slowly declines. I hear it gets better here and there, but so far I've been watching the later stuff and I still find little tiny things. I'm like, oh, I like that. I like that. I know there's gonna be a point where I watch an episode, but like I don't like this at all anymore. I'm just watching it for the rewatch.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to alienate any like CW Flash fans out there. I do really like it. Like it's still really good, even the later stuff. But yeah, we're looking too far ahead. But so we get they go to the particle accelerator showing, like Joe basically lets him off the hook for the night. And he's about to see it, and like Iris's purse gets stolen by somebody, and so he like chases after them, ends up not being able to go to the particle accelerator thing. And basically like while that's going on, there's he goes back to his lab, like we previously mentioned, and there's like they go over to the barn because earlier on the fecal matter thing was set up, like the cow manure, so they're probably hanging out on a farm, so they go over there. They find the two brothers, Joe and the really Christopher Walken. I'm just gonna call him Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
Christopher Walken, his partner. They're going to get them basically, and they drive off. They get in this plane and start like going up. We actually see Harrison Wells before that, like talk about like the particle accelerator and everything, and then the lightning strike, or like it basically starts storming. The we cut back to Barry in the lab, and he notices like all the power basically goes out, and like like we mentioned earlier, the chemicals start levitating, and he's trying to
Yeah.
close up the skylight, and a lightning bolt comes down and hits him, like knocks him out. We fast forward 9 months. We're greeted to Lady Gaga poker face, I think. I think, which is kind of
Yeah.
funny. Talk
Yeah,
about
yeah, again, yeah, weird choice, like kind of weird pop culture moment.
that song was old then, man.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. Because that
Yeah.
song I feel like I
2006
was in like
maybe.
early yeah, I was feel like I was in like middle school or like early high school.
Because that was before she was like Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga. That's when she was still dressing normally. That was before like the meat dress and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like her one of her first big singles.
Yeah,
Like yeah, early on.
yeah. But anyway, they we meet Cisco and Caitlin. Like he wakes up, he doesn't know where he is, and like they're explaining how like the lightning affected him, and also an arrow. I remember hearing like it was like a few months because by the time he crosses over again, looking ahead, it's in season 3, so there was like I think 2 months he was in a coma. So like he wakes up and he's like, yeah, the whole line, like lightning gave me abs and everything, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah.
And because you always have that trope, like even going back to like my wife was saying, it reminded like this episode reminded her of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. And like there's definitely some of that, especially my mind goes to the scene where like Peter wakes up and he's like all shredded and everything all of a sudden out of nowhere.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I always saw that. Yeah, and it's him like checking himself out in the mirror because he's just like suddenly jacked.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, we have that. We meet Harrison Wells again. Something I noticed about this episode, and it makes sense because we find out Caitlin's husband died. And also like Harrison Wells is paralyzed after the particle accelerator. And everybody is kind of cold other than like Cisco. Like Cisco's still like energetic. He's kind of weirdly energetic. I feel like he's not like fully like figured out the character yet. He's kind of like a weirdo in this one. Like I don't
Yeah,
know.
he's a little cringy from the jump for sure.
Yeah, he gets better like later on, but I think it's early on. They're still trying to figure out how they write that character, but he's really excited. I forget when this happens. I know eventually they go out and test his powers and everything, but I think he leaves from there. Oh yeah, before that, obviously he leaves from there. He's like, "Can I keep this shirt and everything?" He keeps the Star Labs shirt, but it's like a sweater. And do you remember just off topic? Do you remember when we went and met John Wesley Shipp? I think Joe had like this, and he was actually kind of impressed that we had that. It's like, where'd you get that? It was like early on in the show's running.
Um, I don't remember that with Joe.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that I don't remember actually.
I just remember it
Um,
because I found it kind of funny that like John Wesley Shipp, who's actually in the show, like he was just kind of surprised that we had like I guess merch from it. Maybe he didn't know about it, but I remember him just noticing Joe's shirt and being like, "Where'd you get that?" kind of thing, which is kind of funny. But yeah.
oh,
So
this might have been something y'all went to without me.
oh man, maybe
Yeah.
that was probably Will. My bad. Anyway, guys. But we go from that to like him meeting up with Iris. She's really happy to see him. And like there's this slow motion moment where like somebody's about to drop like their coffee and everything, and he observes it. And it kind of reminded me of there's a callback to this also in Zack Snyder's Justice League. I don't know if you've seen that
Yes, yeah, I have.
with the hot dog thing. That it was weird in that movie, but the weird hot dog scene where you see that hot dog going in slow motion and everything. But
Um, gosh, it's been a while. Like I watched that when it first came out, and I haven't revisited it since.
right.
So I'm trying to remember exactly, but yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch that soon.
But yeah, there's a it's kind of like a callback to the comics though, where I was reading the first issue of the Flash, and there's a moment where he sees like a bunch of food go up in the air. And this is kind of I think this is a better version of it. It's less like cringy than how they did it in the Zack Snyder Justice League. And that scene, because Iris was in the air, you were kind of wondering like, what's he gonna do with that hot dog kind of
Yeah.
thing. So it's like kind of creepy. But yeah, there's that moment like he first notices his powers kind of thing, and then he I think he goes outside, he runs, and then he runs into like a van, and you see like I think it's like pillows or something. Anyway, you see like a bunch of stuff like fly out from it, and he doesn't know what's happening to him.
Oh yeah, and he runs into the back of a cop car. Oh wait, that's later. That's later.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh no, it's all good.
But yeah, because yeah, there's the thing in the coffee shop where the tray is falling, and
Hmm.
he like sees it happening in slow motion, and then yeah, and then he goes, and then he has the. It's like it looks like a bunch of like laundry bags or pillows or something.
Right. And then we go from that. I think he heads back to Star Labs and he's like, "What's happening to me?" kind of thing. And then they start doing the tests and everything. There's a speaking of John Wesley Shipp, there's a moment in the Flash like pilot from the 90s show that kind of does this where he puts on like an experimental like thing. Before that, I think Harrison Wells said something like you're not a hero and everything, but they still let him do the test just to kind of see what his powers are. And
Yeah.
so he starts like running, and in the original pilot there's a moment where he's running around the track. I think this one it's much more of like a looks like a landing strip or something maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what yeah, it to me it looks yeah, like a landing strip for a plane. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it was I know they had a bunch of Easter eggs back in the day to like I think they wanted to introduce Green Lantern onto that show. So it was like Ferris Air, I think is what it was called. There was a lot of especially on Arrow, they had like a lot of Easter eggs to that, but I think DC said you can't use use Green Lantern, so they kind of started like backpedaling on that a little bit from my memory. I mean, it's been a minute since I've watched Arrow, but actually I think they even showed in a flashback like Hal Jordan, like or they didn't show Hal Jordan, but they showed like like a bomber jacket, like a guy sitting at a bar, and you see like Jordan basically on there. So
Oh.
yeah, I remember that from back in the day. But yeah, anyway, he as he's running, he like I love this scene. I'm sure you remember this too. Like he kind of like he's like woohoo or whatever when he's running, like he's enjoying running really fast, like he's enjoying his powers and everything.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then he has a moment where he starts remembering like basically what happened to his mom, and he gets distracted. He runs into a bunch of like water barrels and everything.
Yeah, and like yeah, he breaks his hand.
Yeah, which was cool. He like speed healed. But they go back and they go over like that obviously. And earlier Caitlin, like he's like, you don't really smile much kind of thing. And then she's like, well, she's like, my husband's dead, but killed by a particle accelerator. My boss is like basically a pariah now. Like no one wants to have anything to do with him, and he's paralyzed. And like basically, this is the best I got, kind of thing. Which I was like, makes sense.
Yeah, it's funny too because it's like um I can't remember. It's like I don't know if he knows that much about the situation like at that point. But it was like that was just such a weird thing of him to say to Caitlyn and at
Yeah,
that point in time.
yeah,
Like it was such an oddly timed like comment for
yeah.
him to be like, "Yeah, you don't really smile."
It has a different, and I know we like Barry Allen in this, but definitely that has a different connotation now. I feel like that it did back then. The whole thing of like dudes talking to girls, be like, "Oh, you should smile more," that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that was
Yeah.
kind of like, that didn't age well, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a weird
Yeah,
vibe.
yeah. But so we go from that, and then I think it goes like you said earlier, like he's been in a coma for like 2 months, so he probably doesn't know anything that's happened, basically. But I think he meets back up with Iris, and like he starts getting the vibe that we'll kind of just skip through this part. He gets the basically her and Eddie Thawne, the who she called Detective Pretty Boy, are like dating, but it's like under wraps. She doesn't want Joe to know because Eddie Thawne is his like new partner and everything. And so like
Yeah.
obviously Barry's not thrilled about that. And we just go from that to because I think earlier when the plane crashed, I think I forgot to mention that, but earlier the plane crash that they got away on at the farm due to the particle accelerator exploding, like the I guess the shock waves knocked it down. But
Mm.
they presume that the Martin brothers are dead, but they're actually alive. They just have powers now, like they can control the weather. They're never called weather wizard, like either one of them when they show up, I don't think, but that's like who they are in the comics. At least one of them is weather wizard. So
Yeah.
um we get a scene where he robs a bank, and it's kind of an impressive scene. You see like the clouds above and like the little skylight breaks and everything, which is kind of cool. He gets away. Barry doesn't have a costume yet, but he I think like whenever later on he's talking to Iris, he sees that car speed by and he just like bolts basically and gets, I love this scene. He gets in the car with Martin. Like I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that scene a lot. And I think going into like the whole bank robbery scene right after he's kind of like starting to figure out his abilities, it was
Mhm.
like, okay, this is a good way to segue into like making him feel the need to like use his powers for, you know, justice or whatever.
Right.
Kind of a good way to like open up how to, without it feeling rushed, actually get to see him in the Flash suit in the first episode. You know, sometimes
Yeah,
we kind of have to wait a while to see in costume, but that was like a good way to put him in costume in the pilot without it feeling rushed.
definitely. And then after that, I'm just making sure I'm not missing anything. All right, yeah, coma, the freak weather events. Okay, yeah, there's the bank robberies are preceded by like the freak weather events kind of thing. Um, just making sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, cool. Then we see the next thing we see is basically I think it's like that scene with Joe, like after the fact where like Martin gets away and then like Barry's trying to share with him like, hey, like this is what's happening basically, like he's still alive, and like you get the vibe like that Joe has heard this a million times, like these like outlandish stuff, and like especially like he gets into it about his mom. He's like, it's like, all right, you want to do this here, like this
Yeah,
stuff, like this supernatural stuff, doesn't happen. Like Martin's dead basically, and also your dad killed your mom. I hate to tell you this, and I've never asked you for anything, but like you need to quit living in like these fantasies kind of thing. Like you were a scared boy who was trying to make sense of what he was seeing, which I thought was like interesting that he said that. And like
yeah, they really have him show his ass all of a sudden.
yeah. And then the actual line, just to get it right, is there's no controlling the weather, Barry. Just like there was no lightning storm in your house that night. It was your brain helping a scared little boy accept what you saw. Your dad killed your mother, Barry. Yeah, he's being a dick. But anyway, the after that, Barry leaves. He's obviously disappointed, and the partner Eddie comes up and he's like, "Hey, check out this sketch of the perp." Basically, I think that's like the Martin Brothers. So like it's kind of comedic. Like right
Yeah,
after he leaves.
yeah, the lack of time in between, because it's like literally as Barry's walking off, then yeah, then he comes up and he's like, "Hey, look at this sketch," and he's just like, "Oh fuck."
Yeah. And so just give me 1 second, guys. Just got to make sure because these last parts are a little bit more hazy to me. Um so like after that, I think he goes back to Dr. Wells and tells him about it. Oh yeah, and that's when Wells tells him, like we mentioned earlier, that he's not a hero basically. And like but basically like what's in his body might, they don't ever pick up this plot line later, but they say like what happened to his body might be able to cure like diseases and stuff, but they never really follow up on that in later episodes. It's just kind of like a plot detail that they drop.
Yeah, they're kind of like, "Oh, okay, we're just gonna just do the superhero thing now."
Yeah, yeah. It's like cure diseases, get that out of here.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, yeah. But after that, he this is actually one of my favorite scenes of the whole episode. We get our first crossover, like technically not counting the arrow thing, but we get our first crossover. We see Barry in Starling City, and he's talking to Oliver, basically trying to be like, am I like a hero kind of thing? Like it's just telling him like he's really frustrated and everything, and he's just like he gives a speech that's repeated later. I want to make sure that I get this right because it's important. But he's like, I want to be a hero like you, is what he's telling Oliver. And he's like, you can be better because you can inspire people in a way that I never could. Watching over your city like a guardian angel, making a difference, saving people in a flash, which I thought was like really cool. Um,
Yeah, I like the like him dropping the name idea.
yeah, that was
Um,
cool.
in the moment though, I was like, it is really funny that he like has this much faith in Barry's potential ability to fight crime like right off the bat. Like,
He doesn't really know him.
yeah, he's like at this stage he's like, yeah, you can do it. You're gonna be even better than me. Like barely knows him at all at this point. So it was kind of funny
Yeah.
how much faith Oliver has in Barry like from the jump.
That went through my head too. I was just like, you guys, like later on, this speech would make a lot of sense. But like right now, it's like you met him once, you got in his face, you felt bad about it. So you let him dance with Felicity and like brought that back together. But other than that, you barely know this guy. It's just the guy that Felicity is like romantically interested in that works in Central City. That's basically all you know about him.
Yeah. Well, I guess he did save his life at that one point,
Oh, that's
you
true.
know, after the identity reveal. But
Yeah.
still, you know, that was more like a, you know, something like a paramedic would do or something. You know, it's
Yeah.
not like,
You can be better than me, paramedic.
yeah.
But yeah, like he basically like you said, gives him the idea. And like I like this. I don't know if you thought this was corny or not. Whenever Barry like just runs off after that, you see like the streak and everything. And like before he does that, Oliver swings away and like you hear Barry say like cool, and then like he runs off and then Oliver pauses. He doesn't have the voice changer on or anything. He's like cool or something. He like hangs against that building.
Yeah, I liked that little part. It was like uh that to me like you know, obviously on the CW shows like a good portion of the like comic relief can be pretty cringy.
Yeah.
But that one I was like, okay, that they did just enough there. Like that was like a good little nice subtle comic relief moment.
Yeah, because it was also cool because obviously like Oliver is so like that show can be so like heavy at times. Like it's cool seeing him have like a little bit more of a sense of humor. Because in the comics, he's much more lighthearted. Like it's not as much of like a Batman and Superman thing, which is what the vibe of this feels like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
But yeah. So basically he goes back to Central City to deal with Clyde Martin, Barry does. And then they have a costume for him. This is ridiculous, man. They're talking about like they used it for firefighters or they're gonna use it for firefighters. I'm like, dude, that's just a leather suit with like this weird like circular thing and like this little breathing apparatus. I'm like, what firefighter was gonna go in and wear that and like, fiery situations.
Yeah, the like I like the idea of like that being the story of like how he just conveniently already had a suit.
Yeah.
Like that using that as the story of why that suit would exist prior, like
Mhm.
was is clever in my opinion, but it doesn't make sense with like the appearance of the suit.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess since we're talking about the costume, we'll go ahead and I'll share my screen in a minute. Let me go ahead and pull it up. Like we said earlier, let me see if I can go ahead and before I do that. All right. Share with sound. Share. So right here we have like this was our first back in the day. I remember we only got like this little shot. I was nervous back in the day about how it looked. Can you see that all right?
Oh yeah, I see it now.
Okay, cool. So like I was kind of nervous back in the day because we only got like this shot right here. and it was like, okay, what does the rest of the suit look like? And we actually got, I think before I mentioned it to you earlier, but this episode leaked. And so like I avoided it early on because I wanted to see it when it actually came on TV because probably there was some stuff missing. This was from before. Hold on one second. Trying to make it go back. But anyway, this was like one of the first shots we saw of it. I'm gonna try to get it to see if it'll go back, but appears like it won't. So we're gonna do this again, guys. First episode, sorry, but yeah, see, we got like this shot right here of the Flash. Like it was like some leaked like set photos. I remember seeing this. I don't know if you remember that either.
Right now I'm still just seeing the first one.
Okay, hold on. Let me go down to the. Hold on one second. Let me just go down to the. Anyway, but there it was like a set photo. Oh yeah, there we go. So next we saw this. Do you see it now?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, next we saw this right here. It's interesting. I never noticed this before because they don't usually show his full body, but you kind of see like he's got like some gold accents on his shoes there, which I never even knew he had before this.
Oh yeah.
It's interesting. But yeah, I remember seeing it and I was kind of nervous because I was like, it looks kind of rough. I don't know. Like it looks cool in the episode. It's like one of those things. Anytime you see set photos, the costumes always look rough because they're not meant to be seen through like, some like digital camera or something. It's meant to be seen through like film or something like that. So
Yeah, yeah. I think it works in the episodes like with the aesthetic of like because it gives it a similar vibe to Arrow like aesthetically
yeah.
with all the leather and shit, but it makes me wonder if like they weren't gonna do like a more like spandexy kind of thing because obviously like starting out Grant Gustin is not very like muscular
Yeah.
like John Wesley Shipp
Yeah.
in the 90s, so they couldn't really, if they went that vibe it would have looked pretty awkward.
Yeah, I don't think they had the budget for it back then. I know later on, I don't know if you've seen how the suit looks like towards the tail end, but it does look a lot more comic book accurate.
Okay, yeah, I need to go back and actually try to finish it out.
Yeah, I can actually pull it up. Hold on, let me go back just to see the difference. And sorry, guys, spoilers, but if you're listening to a rewatch podcast, I feel like you kind of know what you're getting in for. But yeah, so let me just pull this up real quick. This is him with Ezra Miller. I know you can't see it yet. I'm gonna share the screen. Actually, I'm trying to get one without Ezra Miller. No, it's the only one. Okay. So let me just share the screen again. Hold on a second, guys. Might cut this part out, but there we go. So this is how you see that.
Not yet. Oh, there it goes.
This is how the suit looks now.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like way more like comic book accurate and everything. I'll get into it tomorrow when I review the new movie, but I don't really like the how the suit looks in the new one. But let's go ahead and go back to this. Hold on one second, guys. Stop share. Oh, there we go. Stop share. All right, so we go to the farm. Barry sees like basically before that, Joe and Eddie go and bust them at the same place at the farm, like the Martin brothers. And I promise my future synopsises will be a little bit more put together. But they go in there, they find them, and like this is one of my favorite moments of it. Like Clyde is talking about like, oh, I realized I was a god and everything, and then like Joe's like, shut the hell up.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the funniest moments. And then like that he starts using his powers, and like Joe has another really funny line where he's talking about like robbing banks, and he's like, why the hell would a god want to rob a bank? Like he's like yelling that at him. I got a good laugh out of that too.
Yeah, his remarks are good in that moment
Yeah, the actor's
too.
really great. Like Joe, the guy they got for Joe is probably one of the better actors, or one of the funniest ones anyway. Like he's always really great in these.
Oh yeah, yeah, he's definitely one of the like because there's obviously like on these CW ones there's like a good handful of like bad actors. Flash has a little bit is a little bit better
Mm-hmm.
on the acting front than like um I think Arrow has some like kind of cringier actors more so than the
Mm,
Flash, but I think yeah for Joe West is definitely like a better like he's one of the top as far as like actual acting skills that we see on the like CW stuff.
definitely. And then basically he create like Clyde creates a tornado, Barry arrives, and he tries to run around him in the opposite direction to counteract the tornado. First time he tries, he falls back, and then like he's like, I can't do this kind of thing. And then Wells gets on the comms and basically says like one of the things that became a staple of this show, the he gives him this big speech and he's like, now run, Barry, run. Like that was like, I don't know if you remember, like I feel like with the fandom that was like something they repeated like over and over again, like as one of those standout lines, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely uh felt like a really pivotal moment for sure
Definitely.
in his come up.
But yeah, and so he tries it again. He runs and it's able to counteract the tornado and basically stop it. He he takes out. He's about to like basically Clyde is standing in front of him, and it seems like Barry might lose, but then Joe takes out Clyde, and then like basically apologizes for not believing Barry and everything. Like he feels really bad because he realizes that all that stuff is true, and that like they basically need to get his dad out of jail. Like he realizes that like he didn't kill your mom kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that was really nice. I'm sure it was really like cathartic to finally seeing like Joe get on Barry's side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um
What's up?
oh yeah, no, that was just a good like yeah, that was a good emotional moment in the show. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. So the next scene we get is he goes and visits like his dad in prison, and basically like they're talking about like when he was growing up, and like he's talking about like, oh, I'll get you out of this, like no, this didn't happen kind of thing. And he's like, the fact that you believe me is like all I need kind of thing, like very like heart touching, like emotional stuff. Like I'm not too like I'm enough of a man to admit I got emotional, like I teared up a little bit rewatching this scene, like it was really touching.
Oh yeah, yeah, very much so. And the one thing I didn't really like notice as much before is when you first have them in the same scene together
Right.
and I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, they're actually John Wesley Shipp and Grant Gustin, I felt like well in this rewatch as I was rewatching it today
Hmm.
that casting wise is like pretty good because I feel like they're pretty passable as like father and son like looks wise in that
Right.
moment. Um
Yeah, definitely. And then like we get the whole thing of like he's proud of him, and he's like, I got in a fight, and like earlier like I mentioned, like the whole thing of like, oh, did you win kind of thing, and he's like, yeah. So he's like proud of him. We get that whole thing set up, and basically after that, I think it happens at some point, but I know that definitely Joe tells him earlier on. I forgot to mention this, that like he's like, don't tell Iris about any of this, like kind of keep her out of this sort of thing.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which doesn't last long, obviously. Again, sorry guys, spoilers, but we get that whole scene. After that, it basically ends. And then we get like an after credits thing, which this show does, like not after credits, but after like the main title. We get
Yeah.
Harrison Wells going over to a corner and like activating this little hidden wall, and we see him like go in there, stand up, which was did you see the like were you surprised, do you remember the first time watching, did you suspect that there was something going on with Dr. Wells or no?
No, really not up until that moment.
Yeah.
Um, I definitely when he's is first talking about like using the healing factor and stuff with Barry, I'm like, okay, this is probably like, self-serving to a degree so that he can, uh not be wheelchair bound the rest of his life.
Right.
Um, but which is that's just a pretty valid, feeling
Yeah, of
if you
course.
just suddenly become paralyzed, so I'm like, I can't, that doesn't make him suspicious. Um, just his approach to it with Barry in that moment is a little bit dickish, but other
Yeah.
than that, no, there was nothing that really made me suspect him up until that little moment.
Right. And then we get like he goes up to this console, puts his hand on it, and we get this news article that if you've watched the show, you've seen like a million times. It has the like a future-ish looking version of the Flash on it. It says Flash missing, vanishes in crisis. And did you notice like the year on it? So 2024.
No.
It's like 2024. So I'm like,
Oh. Wow.
yeah. I was watching it with Amanda the other day,
Huh.
and I'm like, that's like next year. Like that's wild. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's crazy.
so we get that set up, and then I think at the time I had suspicions about him. I thought that he might be the Reverse Flash. There was also like set pictures that got leaked of him fighting the Reverse Flash, but I forget when that happened. But we get that whole setup, and then real quick before we go into like our ratings and final thoughts, I wanted to mention something off the top. The creator slash producer of this show has three words that should sum up every episode of the Flash. Like it should have these three things, and this is going to be a running thing running that I do with the Flash, this rewatch podcast, is does it have these three things, and if it doesn't, then I'll factor into how I ultimately feel about it. But the three things above the writer's room door is heart, humor, and spectacle. Do you feel like this episode had all those three things?
Yeah, I would say so because it definitely has these like touching moments between Barry and Joe as well as Barry and Henry Allen. Um, and some of the humor is like not amazing, but
Yeah.
um I did like I did think it was really funny initially after like Joe like totally shows his ass and is just an absolute dick to Barry, like him like immediately getting like proven wrong.
Right.
Uh Literally as Barry is walking away pissed off at him. uh uh you know which I mean I guess maybe might not be intentionally comical, but like I thought it was funny as shit.
Well, the shut the
Um
hell up too part too with Joe talking to the to that
yeah,
bad
yeah.
guy.
So yeah, there's some like kind of humor in there, but there's definitely enough
Working. Yeah.
like good parts to make up for it. Um,
Yeah,
and
cool.
and uh, and I think that last little fight, was nice and quick. Like it's just enough to like leave you wanting more. So I'd say that gives spectacle in and of itself.
Right. I agree. Yeah, like you said earlier, for I guess for me, the heart, like you mentioned with the like the stuff with his dad was great, like really touching scenes. And humor, like again, the shut the hell up part, and then the unintentional stuff we mentioned. The twerking thing, obviously not going on there, but
Yeah.
and then lastly, the spectacle. Like I think it was impressive at the time seeing, like, especially on the CW, like because they had tried to do other like spinoffs in the past. Like I don't know if you know this, but in Smallville, I've actually seen the pilot. They were gonna do an Aquaman spinoff that Justin Hartley, who ended up playing Green Arrow as all not as Arthur Curry, aka Aquaman.
Oh, huh. No, I actually, I never watched all of Smallville.
Gotcha.
Um, that's what is that streaming on now?
I think Hulu.
Okay, cool, cool.
But
I'm gonna have to dive back into that, even though it's kind of like not amazing, but it's still like
yeah,
it's you know it's entertaining enough.
it's nostalgic,
I like a good bit of the casting. Like I like the casting for Lex Luthor especially.
He's one of the best. Speaking of flat like Flash, he actually played the Flash in the Justice League cartoon that we grew up
Oh,
with.
really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So, yeah. Eventually we'll cover that on the off seasons, like when we're just doing other Flash related things. But yeah, I feel like this, like the humor, like we mentioned, then like obviously the visual effects were impressive at the time. And it was just really cool seeing that. I think that I actually heard that even in the later seasons, the Flash was still like their top watch show on the CW, which is probably for like, seeing him like do those different things. And also the heart is a lighter tone, and it wasn't trying to be something else like I feel like Arrow was. Arrow was trying to be the early stuff. I still like it a lot, but it was trying to be like the Nolan, like the Christopher Nolan movies, like the Batman stuff, but on like TV.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Um, and then I feel like I where I kind of fell off with Arrow was it felt like it started to become more drama than action.
Yeah, the Felicity stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I definitely I like this episode. It's the first one out of the gate. It's a great pilot. I think it's even better probably than the Arrow one. I would probably give it like I'm gonna be because we're obviously gonna go uphill from here. I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5 like lightning bolts, I guess.
Yeah, that's probably what I would rate it as too. Um, yeah, because I would say most of my critiques are pretty small.
Yeah.
Um, it's mostly just like um the use of poker face,
Yeah.
twerking jokes, and my other big critique would be, Oliver Queen having like immediately having so much faith in Barry was like
Yeah.
um, little bit weird.
Yeah, it was bizarre. But yeah, I actually forgot to mention this, but it's some I'll admit on here because I'm not afraid to be embarrassed. But like talking about like my fandom stuff, whenever I used to do 5Ks with my mom, I would be
Mm.
like the theme from the Flash would get stuck in my head, and I'd be like the dude, and I picture like I know in this they do like this unique thing with the lightning where it's like doing back and forth in his eyes and everything.
Oh.
Um, I would like pretend that was me, and I'd be running like the 5K. So again.
Hey, I mean that's probably like a good self motivation.
Oh yeah, definitely. That music, I think I remember listening to it when I used to work out and stuff. It's definitely like workout music. It's got like a very like kinetic feel to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna give you a chance at the end to first I'll just go over my like plugs for different things. You can find me obviously on this show, the Flashbacks, a Flash Rewatch podcast. And then also you can find me on Night of the Batman, which is available on Spotify. Should have a review coming out soon for both this and that other one. And then try and bring What Mean back. We'll bring that back later. I do Tangential Exchange with Trip. I do that with him. We
Mm.
kind of drink and kind of try to stay on topic while just trying to make each other laugh. That's probably our most laid back show. But yeah,
Okay.
I'll just go ahead and give you a chance to, if you wanted to like plug any stuff you're doing. I know that you're in a band. If you wanted to maybe mention them and, you know, kind of get the word out there.
Yeah. This is the first time I've done it's the second time I've done a podcast appearance in general,
Really?
and the first time I've done one non-music related. I only did one other like podcast interview for like band stuff, because usually our singer Paul, he's usually the one that gets, you know, hit up for podcast interviews and stuff.
Right.
But him and I did one together a while back. Um, so yeah, as far as like my entertainment industry stuff, it's really just music um that I have going on. The band is Fake Eyes. It's all accessible on Spotify. The podcast that I did an interview on was Not Just a Phase podcast, which is
Cool.
also available on Spotify or like the Apple podcasting.
Cool. I
Uh,
like that title.
yeah, it's a cool podcast. He has some um, pretty funny questions um, that kind of keep things entertaining, still on topic enough with like, you know, still allows the information of what's actually going on with your band, but without it being just like straightforward, boring, like, well, what are you doing next? What, you know?
Yeah, the generic questions.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you guys know me, or you will. And like Barry said, I think that this, like the name, The Flash, I think this podcast is going to catch on. So I'm Alex,
I'm Grant.
and we will see you in the Speed Force.